Hey there, balanced lady bosses. This is Stacy, and welcome to another epic episode of the Balanced Lady Boss Show. Today, I am joined by an amazing colleague and friend who actually is Jamaican, just like me, and bosses it both in Jamaica and in the US. Her name is also just like mine, except with a little different spelling. Welcome, Stacy Kirk, who is the CEO and founder of two tech companies. Oot, oot, that's just so great. And she's based in California. She focuses on quality assurance as well as on healthcare, which is something that I actually am excited about talking to Stacy about because it's an area that I'm interested in as well, and my business has started to lean into. And Stacy's just an all-around girl boss. She's a mom. She is a colleague from the Jamaica Computer Society Silicon Valley perspective, and she's going to tell us about all the other things that she does or is doing or has done that may not necessarily be a part of her LinkedIn profile. So we're going to get all the deets and the download from this amazing soul that has joined us today. So welcome, Stacy. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to talk with you and have some fun.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Stacy. The intention of our show is to help professional women live, love, and lead holistically. I believe in the whole woman, not just the one that focuses on work, but the person that makes us all of who we are. So the person we are in boardroom, the person we are in bedroom, and the person we are in bliss. So I always like to kick things off by really taking a walk with you down memory lane. So you can tell us about your kind of career journey and whether you had to pivot or maybe did you always want to be in tech? How did you end up in the boss seat, female founder of two tech companies? How did that happen? Was it a dream? What happened?
Yeah, it was. I always wanted to be in tech. I was always fascinated. My father was really into engineering. He came to Jamaica. He came from Jamaica to New York to learn how to make televisions. He's 87, so that was high tech at the time. How to build a TV. So he always had me around a lot of um, electronics. Like I remember we loved to go to Radio Shack and to like build circuit boards. And so I just found it to be extremely fascinating and understandable kind of way to be creative. And I didn't know what it meant to be in technology, but I definitely thought, this is probably I'm always going to have a job. And I know that sounds terrible, but I grew up with, two very hardworking parents that were not given much opportunities. And so the ability to have any job that you want in the world wasn't a possibility for them. And because of that, especially in the South, the type of crap they had to take was just, it just wasn't what I wanted for myself. And I know they didn't want for me. And I was like, you know what? Technology seems like the type of career where you can be your own boss one day. So that was kind of what motivated me to get into it.
Now you mentioned the South. So when your family moved, when your dad moved to the U.S., he wasn't on the West Coast.
No, no. So we've been all over. So my parents met in New York. I was born Jamaica, Queens, New York. So my family, a lot of my family is in New York. But when American Airlines moved to the South and to Texas, my mother decided to go. She was what she grew up in the projects, or she couldn't even get in the projects. She was like one level below the projects, and she got a job at American and realized, oh, she could fly. She began to go to Rome, Japan, taking her children, and she was like, this is the company I want to be at because I love the exposure that I never had. And so we all went to Texas. So that's
That's
where I
right,
was
girl.
grew up.
Let's all travel. Okay.
Listen, we have gone standby. My parents and I have gone standby to so many great places in the world, and I'm just so thankful. And I think that's why there was no fear for me to come back to Jamaica. Like, I feel like the world is ours, right? We're not, uh, we don't have to be, in one little city or state, and that's all we is our domain. I feel like we can be global bosses.
That's right. Without boundaries, without
No
boundaries.
boundaries. Thank you. I was looking for the word.
Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret because, I see that it's interesting that you talk about the background that you had. We talk about humble beginnings. So many of us have come from humble beginnings, myself included. And I have a little secret that I'm going to share on this podcast that I don't think I've actually shared on any of my prior episodes, but you went to an Ivy League university. You went to two Ivy League universities. You went to both Stanford and Harvard.
Yeah. Well, Stanford's technically not Ivy League, but
Uh,
Ivy League level. And
Ish.
I did some continuing education at Harvard. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I have always wanted to, I won't say I always wanted to go, but I've always felt as though I'm an imposter in the space because I didn't go to an Ivy League school or any of the well-known. I mean, Georgia State is well-known enough, but any of the well-known, schools where a lot of techies went, or dropped out of, so to speak, because that's what would typically happen. They go and then they drop out halfway through. But what was that like for you
Yeah.
going to school?
Well, two things. One, I will tell you that the friendships that I made in college, and I think this is not different from any college that you go to, they were incredible. I have some of the most incredible friends. I thought I was an imposter when I got to Stanford. Like, how did they put me on this list?
How did I end up here?
I've got friends like Sterling K. Brown. I mean, Tiger Woods was in my class. Like, the founders of PayPal, my class. Like, there are so many incredible people that I made as friends. But then I realized, well, if it's such a great class, maybe there's something great about me too. But what I will also tell you about yourself and all those others, that I have met just as many, if not more, that have never, some of them never even went to college, and there is a reason why I was able to go. And it was a lot to do with the situation. My mother said, I came from humble beginnings, and I'm going to make sure your education is everything in this house. And because she pushed that, and because I was a driver, and because I was able to go to these certain schools, it allowed me to go to Stanford. But that doesn't, and I took advantage of all of it. I'm like, I'm going to be all your friends, because one day I'm going to start a company, and I'm going to call you, and you're going to have to help me out. Yes. But at the same time, I just, and as I have a teenage son now, I don't think he's gonna go to Stanford, and that's okay, because I know what success means. And it's not all about education, and it also, and I've also seen too many successes from all over different variations of education and schools that have done far better than a lot of my colleagues at Stanford. So so just so you know, you didn't miss out.
And and it's funny because it's all the mind, right? Because I actually wouldn't have traded my university experience for anything. But I think when you step into that space of the boardroom and you start doing the conversations and having those discussions with other people, and I think it's the others, meaning the persons who have created a context around the school you went to, or where you live, or it's the same conversation, right? So
yes,
thank you for that.
But as a woman, especially a Black woman,
Yes.
that doesn't get you as far as you think it gets you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's still other biases that come into play, but
I would agree with that.
I made the most of it. I feel like we got to do that in whatever situation we're in. So I enjoyed it.
Nice. Now, when you were in school, right, were you at that point striving to be an entrepreneur, or were you on the path of getting work and then possibly just growing with a company? Or did you always just kind of have that entrepreneur seed just, waiting to be watered and fertilized and bloom,
Yeah. I think I always had an entrepreneurial seed. I wish I was like a lot of these young people that are, 2 years into college and they're coming up with these brilliant ideas. I wasn't. I mean, I saw a business card the other day from college, and it was Stacy Green. That was my maiden name, Stacy Green Computing Services. And I remember I was going around campus giving my business card to people that were having problems with their computer. So I always had a hustle. I've always had some type of little business that I was doing, but I think I probably was thinking very small, but for me it was big, and I think it's all in perspective. And it's so fortunate that a lot of the young people can have have seen these stories of people right out of college, in college, coming up with ideas, and they can take over the world. And so their perspective is a lot bigger than mine. For me, I left a little town in Texas. That was accomplished. That was already big enough.
Yes.
But even in having children, I know we haven't got to the intimate part, more intimate, but I try to give that exposure to my kids now, like, take it over. Where's your business idea? You can do all those things. So hopefully the next generation will have it.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell me how you ended up making the decision to actually step into being an entrepreneur. Like, what was that leap like? Was there a leap, or was it just a nice little, cruise on over here to start a company? What was that like for you?
Yeah. I wish I had a more exciting entrance to it. I had gone about as high as I thought I could go in my corporate career. Um,
Mhm.
my it's good to have a specialty in technology, but sometimes having that specialty doesn't make you a generalist enough to become like a chief technology officer. And I felt that I didn't have the skills, or I couldn't maybe get that role as a CTO. And so the next step really was being a consultant. And so that was my first step into starting my own consulting firm. I really wasn't thinking very big at the time. I was thinking this would be my company and company of one, but maybe one day there will be additional people. So let me call it a consulting group. I don't, it's a group of one. But I think the step off was when I stopped consulting and I let my team actually drive the revenue of the company from like a work. And I had to tell the client that I was at, I'm not going to be able to consult anymore because I have to run my business. Like that was very scary, because I knew on my own as a consultant, I could always pay all the bills. But, as a businesswoman, not a consultant, that was a little scary and I actually gave my notice and they forgot about it until the end. And I was like, I could take it back. And they're like, no, it's okay. So it's almost like
Okay.
I tried to jump and I was like, you sure? I don't have to jump, but I'm glad I did.
I like that. It's almost like the parachute kind of got caught, and you were like, okay, maybe I should just stay, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. If they would have begged me hard enough, I wouldn't have done it. But luckily, they said we okay. Yes, we planned for it, and I was like, you sure? All right, I'm officially a businesswoman, stepping back from being a consultant. So that was my jump off. That was really kind of scary.
And then did posture just evolve out of, like, because I remember when I saw you announce it. I mean, I know you had said you have stuff going on, but I was like, a whole other company? That's like a whole lot of things going on. Like, it's like, how did that evolve out of what looks like quality assurance? So how did software testing birth a wellness associated company?
Yeah. Well, Quality Works is wears the mask of being a quality assurance company. But really, and honestly, that's the mask I put on 20 years ago when I got into it. And I tell this story that I tell my staff, and I don't know if it's motivating or demotivating, but I told them that the first time I did software testing, I hated it. I hated it so much that I decided to dedicate my life to fixing it. And so I thought, wow, I am way too technical to do this. There's got to be a way I can use my technical brain, my innovative brain, to fix this problem of why products are so crappy.
Mhm.
And so Quality Works is really an innovation company. We're innovating on how we deliver quality. And because of that, the people I hire are software developers, they are network engineers, they are business analysts, they are every piece of the puzzle of what it takes to make quality. Um, and and because of that, we have a lot of innovation come out. And so Posture, which is a platform to help small and medium-sized businesses really be able to build cyber resilience and be compliant so that they can grow, really came from a lot of the innovation that we had from the beginning in our company. And they told me, Stacey, we want to put a platform together. We want to have something that's going to improve this process. And it evolved into the cybersecurity realm because of the pressing need that I found as an entrepreneur, but
Mhm.
also my clients, and just the stats in terms of how crippling it can be if you're hacked,
Mhm.
how crippling it can be if you can't be compliant enough to work with the big companies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I actually really like the way that posture is positioned, because the truth is that when people think about health and healthcare and wellness, they think about that space, they automatically may go to the doctor or some kind of treatment. It's not often that we think about what is required to protect that space, and to keep that space secure. And so I love that you are not just innovating around the platform, but also around the niche that you are serving. So I thought that was really innovative, to your point. And now you are running both companies.
I am. I'm. Well, I'll say I am the head of both companies. I have been fortunate to bring on some great leadership and also have leaders that have evolved to really powerful forces within both organizations, which makes it easier for me. Yeah. Thank goodness.
Yeah, that's you're living that entrepreneur dream, right? You want to build it, have them come, and then you are really providing that strategic guidance and leadership, and ultimately for you, you're being able to be more in your bliss space, or you should be going towards more of your bliss. That's what should be happening.
I am. I see the bliss that I'm pulling it. More of it all of the time. Yes.
No, well, that's awesome. I mean, just kudos to you on all of the work that you're doing, and really being that tech girl boss. There's room for all of us, and I think it's amazing to be able to share that story with others that are coming up in the space. I also had a dad that was in tech. He was
Oh,
the software side, yeah. He was a systems operator. And so I fell in love with the big servers and the big computers, sitting down watching him, do whatever he needed to do to make sure. Green screen, talking about way back. So we definitely have quite a few things in common there. So
yeah.
you talked about being a mom, right? And you also mentioned that your maiden name was Green, right? So that means that you've changed status. So maybe the status change has happened a couple times. We got to talk about that. And also, just how do you navigate building, creating, nurturing relationship, both romantic and with kids, while you are doing these amazing founding things and building teams and fixing QA in the world? Like, how do you manage that bedroom space of yours?
Wow. That's loaded. I feel like I should lay on my couch when I answer these questions. Well, I am a mother of two. I have a 14-year-old son. I have a 9-year-old daughter. Um, they are, for mothers say, that's my everything. I don't talk about them very much, not, and it's only because I'm very protective of that space. I know we're in a world where, every moment is captured on Instagram, and it's not for me, but I will tell you that part of even the design of my company and how I've navigated these last 10 years, 11 years now of entrepreneurship is really to give me the flexibility that I want to be the type of mother that I want to be. I want I wanted to, moving to Jamaica was, part of being able to, for my daughter, who was very young at the time, be able to see just a strong and powerful woman that could make her dreams happen. But also to give me the flexibility when I don't have my children, because I'm divorced. So I've kept my married name, Kirk, but divorced after 10 years, but successful co-parent. When I don't have my children, I have the room to kind of, I have a void to fill. And as a mother, that void is big. And I said, what's big enough to fill the void of not having your children with you half of the time? And I was like, a company one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful place in the world.
Yes.
So that has been my bliss. It's balanced out the tragedy of divorce,
Mhm.
and made it so that I can fill that void with doing something that I think is extremely impactful, but
Mhm.
also when I'm with my children, I have the time that I need to be there for them and to be an inspiration for them. So it's been good. It's been good.
Well, I just want to say that I applaud you on being a successful co-parent
Yeah, it's hard.
because yeah, I'm an unsuccessful co-parent.
Yeah,
Um,
it takes two.
Successful single mother,
Yeah.
but unsuccessful co-parent. And it's just, I don't know that you can't learn how to do that part. Meaning you can't learn how to navigate becoming co-parents.
No.
That's just, it's just not, you can get books like Conscious Uncoupling and you can do all of that, but it's really each couple's journey
Yeah.
to walk.
And it's been a journey. And I've got to tell you, I wouldn't say that I was a successful co-parent. My son told me that. And really that's all that matters. I was like, well, I personally don't feel that way. But he was like, you co-parent well. And I was like, who, me? I was like, we do? I was like, I had to like double check. You mean me and your father are good co-parents? He's like, yeah, you really are. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with that. And I'm gonna claim it if he claims it. But I think, it's tough. It's always tough. There's not there's for the especially the couple. It's tough to it was tough to figure it out in marriage, but after marriage, it's probably like you said, there's no book for it.
No,
Really helps.
no, there
And
really
COVID
isn't.
does not help at all because your circle is not just it's their circle as well.
Yes.
So I'm always like, you ready for your vaccine? It's time for your vaccine.
No, that's good. That's really good. And actually, from the mouth of babes, I love that. I
Mm.
love that your son says that. I mean, from the mouth of my kids too, they'll tell you that I'm a hot mess, and they'll
They'll,
break it
they
down.
say other things. Yeah, my kids will say other things too, depending on how many chores they have left and some other demands they make.
And I also think it's quite beautiful that you've designed your life in a way that supports being that mom. I find that I think I did. I mean, I think it looks different for all the mommies,
Yeah.
and I think I did my design my way. And now what I feel is happening is I think I'm learning how to evolve that design, especially as they've gotten older,
Yeah.
because the teenage world is a whole other. I mean, at least you still have a lovely 9-year-old. It's so nice. When they cross over, girl, when you hit that 11, 12, they start to shift. It's a whole different experience, but one that is, I would say, equally rewarding, because you get an opportunity to evolve to a new level of love and gratitude for your children. So, and I think I'm kind of in that phase now. I think I'm in that phase of, it's like I now have two bonus, right? So I have my three, and then I have two bonus based on my current relationship. So I have five now between 11 and 17.
Yeah.
And it's really a smorgasbord of needs and personalities, and everybody on their own path, but on together path. So That's good.
It is so unique because each one has their own, they all need their own unique type of parenting style, right? I don't know if that happens for you, but
No, it's true.
it's and so I I don't know if this is bad to say, but it's hard to take advice from too many people about how to raise your children because each child is
It's
different.
very,
I'm like as different as my two children must be. Any other experience has to be
yeah.
even vastly different. So it's
Outside of your household, outside of your environment, that whole thing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
absolutely. Now, how do you feel, and you can choose where this lands safely for you, but how do you feel now in that space of relating and romantic love, being that you have experienced divorce, you have built two companies, and have this mini empire that you're running, and you have kind of figured out your way with your kids. How do you feel about romantic relationship now?
Yeah, well, that was an evolution. I mean, you go through marriage, and you have this mindset that this is it. This is the end all person. And when that's over, I needed time to figure out like um, what does the next thing look like. And I've got to tell you, after being committed and focused on one person for 10 plus years, I got to tell you, being single, I was like, where did all these beautiful men go? I mean, these are the all, I mean, where did they go?
Where
There
they
were
come from?
men everywhere. It was like a rainbow, like just lucky charms of sexy men all over the world. So yeah, I had a time where I was just like, why didn't and I prayed for it as a wife, like keep me focused on my relationship. But after I was divorced, I was like, why didn't I see all these good looking men around the world? So I had a couple years where I just had to be like, kind
Yeah.
of get out of that. And for me, I always have, you have your mother, like, I just wish and pray a good husband for you. And you have friends that, wish the same or want you to have something that's very serious. But I had to be comfortable in designing what works for me. Um, and what works for me is that I think you can't go through a divorce and jump in, or I couldn't go from a divorce to jump into something else serious unless I did the work to heal the pain and
Mhm.
the trauma.
Mhm.
And I had to be fair to my priorities. I'm running two companies and I have two children. And for me, I find all of those extremely rewarding. I mean, and so for me, I wanted a relationship that could complement that,
Yeah.
also understand the priority of that relationship in comparison to everything else. Because whatever I do, I put my whole heart into it. But honestly, I haven't wanted to put my whole heart into a relationship right now. I think that's too much, you know?
Yeah.
So I do have someone that I've been seeing for a couple years, and we've got a good understanding, and it's really like a strong friendship. But it's not necessarily going to be my, this is not, it's not as serious as maybe a I don't know, husband to be, or a very serious boyfriend. But that's what I need.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
exactly at the level I want it to be. And even though there's a lot of outside influences, like, you need to lock that down. You need to,
Girl.
you know, you got to go through expectations. The expectations we've set work for us, and it works for all that other stuff that I have. So I'm in bliss. I feel like I've got everything I want. A couple more zeros in the bank account and in our revenue statements, but other than that.
Oh, that's so awesome. And thank you so much for sharing that too, because I think not only do we need to redefine and be comfortable with how we're showing up in the boardroom, but I think we also need to be able to be completely open and free and happy with how we're showing up in the bedroom. And I don't think that enough of us as women have that conversation or speak about the fact that this works for me. I'm in a relationship that I enjoy and I'm happy, and it serves both of us. There's nothing selfish about it, or maybe there is, but it's selfishness on both sides that works together for
Yeah.
selfishness for each other. So I think that's absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And it is a very distinct choice. At least certainly I found from a timing perspective, like when I think about all that, all the things I'm over here doing, right? When
Oh
you
yeah.
think about all the things that you're doing, a relationship where there is a commitment and it's like that forecast of more than friendship, more than spending time together to be with each other. It requires quite a bit of work,
Yes.
and when you have children, it amplifies that to another level.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you just being a boss about that too, and I'm happy that you're
And I
happy.
think some people feel like they can't say it. And I will tell, I mean, the person that I'm seeing, it was the first thing I told him, um, because he's divorced as well, is that you have to take the time to work on you
Mhm.
and don't feel like, because when you jump into a relationship, it's work, it's commitment to the relationship before maybe you put the time into for yourself. And because usually in at the end of a marriage, someone is putting 120 and the other person's putting 0, and all of those balances get skewed. And if you don't take that, like you said, time to be a little selfish afterwards, build up yourself before you commit to the work. And some people can do it, and I know I can because I feel like I can do it all, but I don't want to do it all right now.
Yeah, that's so good. You can have it all, but not at the same time. You
Yeah, and
know?
that was advice I received from another lady boss, that
Yeah.
people like, how do you do it all? Well, one, you got to ask for a lot of help, and then you have to know that you can have it all, but maybe not all right now. And I'm comfortable enough in who I am and my sexy to
Mhm.
know, for the next 5 years, I've got a boyfriend, which is quality works. I've got a husband, which is posture. I've got my 2 kids, and that's kind of my focus now. But that'll change, and there will be a time when I'm ready, and I think I'll hopefully still look, pretty hot and tempting.
As long as there's technology, girl, we'll be hot and tempting. We They got technology for everything.
Yeah, filters. I'll just whatever filters I need to get back those years.
No, I love that. Oh, this is wonderful. I actually really like that you said that you're in your bliss, because that's the next area, right? How do you take care of yourself? What is your self-care routine?
Well, this year I've stepped it up. There were a couple of years I wasn't sleeping a lot, and it was because I was so excited about all the things that I was able to do, that I just wanted to do them all. I didn't want to sleep, so someone gave me this advice that you can hack your sleep, and I started to do it, where I would sleep for about 30 minutes, and it kind of hacks your brain and think you may have got a full night's rest. It's terrible. Don't ever do that. But this year, or I guess one of the things I do for bliss, it was to travel.
Mhm.
Um, you know, the pandemic has messed that up a bit.
Yeah.
Um, being in Jamaica, as you may feel, I don't know if you can feel the difference from being in the States or being in Jamaica, but there's so much that has come out of this year, people opening up about all of the how they really feel about being Black in America. Um,
Mhm.
it's being where I grew up, I felt it, but I suppressed it. And I just learned how to self-heal. And a lot of that self-heal was being in a country where being Black in Jamaica doesn't really mean don't really
Yeah,
mean the same
doesn't
thing.
matter.
But it was healing. I mean, my anxiety level, if any of my staff spoke with me on the first 5 hours off the plane from the US versus 2 days later, it just went down, because it's a place where, one, I feel like I'm healed, and I also feel like there's just yet one less thing you have to worry about.
Yeah.
And so I do miss that, not being able to travel, but I do get it in. I golf. I am a water person. So I swim. I'll swim. I'll go and get in the ocean and just swim out. I'll go to the beach every weekend. I dance around. I find bliss. Yeah, I definitely find bliss.
That's nice. I love that. And I actually like that you brought into play the Black Lives Matter movement that has been a movement for decades now, right? But maybe more on the DL, whereas now it's quite loud and vibrant. And I think many persons were their bliss was impacted by that. And then your compound that is compounding a pandemic, you
Mm,
know, and in a space where you can't go anywhere, you know, you don't have the option to travel.
yeah.
So now I see you drinking your tea. Is tea and wine and just your, you know, you have a bookcase behind you, maybe relaxing with a book. When you're inside, is that how you just kind of take escape moments, like cut it off, like, okay, this is me time. I'm separating myself from kids, work, all of it.
Yeah. Definitely have my tea. To start of the day, end of the day. And I've stenciled out like the beginning of this year, 6 to 8 a.m. for myself. Um, it's easy when you don't have to take the kids to school. But that's those 2 hours were when I read, I meditate, I exercise, and it's 2 hours, which to me seems like so much time, but really it's what I need because before I would be like, I'll set aside 30 minutes and then I wonder why it didn't get done. But 2 hours is what I kind of calculated was the time I needed to invest in myself to just make sure I start my day off right.
Mhm.
Um, and then I'm doing my end of day, which I'm still working on being consistent. My end of day kind of ritual shutdown, where I leave this office, and I leave everything that's business in here and go into the rest of my home. And I try to identify one thing that I will do every day for someone else other than myself. And it's not that I'm doing it because I'm so selfish. I'm doing it selfless. It's because I am selfish and I have to stop focusing on myself
Yeah.
so much, you know? So I have to say, okay, who do I need to call? Who do I need to pray for? Who do I need to send something to just to do something other than think about myself? Because, you know, if you're a driven person, your mind just is always like, what can I do better? What can I do better? And I, you know, and you just I have to shut that off, you know? So that's my selfish way of giving back.
Really good. And you know what, I'll agree with you that the more time you can spend in the morning, like at the start of your day, because it's how I now process mornings is like I get a do-over.
Mm,
Like, okay, we get to start again. All right, let's do better today. You know, we know more today than we did yesterday. So that do-over for me went from 5 minutes to the 30 minutes to
mm,
now I'm at about an hour and a half most mornings. And what's kind of screwed me up is I've been going to bed later.
yeah.
Well, now I have somebody that I'm talking to in the night because I have a partner now living with me, which I haven't had for over a decade.
Oh
Girl,
wow.
it's a whole thing, girl. And
That
so,
that adds to your bliss, I'm pretty
oh
sure.
yeah, 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 yeah. I'm not complaining. No complaints. No complaints. It's just that I don't want to go to sleep. I want to talk. I want to, you know, watch a movie. It's like I want to spend time. And so with COVID, our sleep time has just been really skewed. We were really good about, you know, 10 o'clock. And so we were getting up, you know, like 5:30, 5:36 was usual wake up time. Now it's like midnight, 1 a.m. It's just some crazy hours, you know. So that's probably where I would say the struggle is. But no matter what time I'm waking up, it's almost like I don't want to get into my day unless I've had
That's
me
good.
time. Yeah, you know. So even if I can't get the full hour and a half, I definitely want to squeeze in at least my meditation and maybe pick an intention card, something
Mm,
to set my head up, you know, for the day ahead. So
that's good. I'm not there yet where I'm like, I have to do this. You know, I don't want to start my day without it. It's still more of the I have to do this because you deserve to
yeah.
treat yourself better. And that's probably why I need 2 hours because 30 minutes of it is like, I really want to check my email. You know, so like I'm still bad, like it shouldn't take me 2 hours, but it's, you know, I'm slow to self-care that I now know I need, and so I'm hoping to get it down, but yeah, it's tough to get to bed.
It
It's tough.
is.
Good.
It is tough to get to bed of late. And on weekends, even I think one of the things that I realized creeping back in is working on weekends. I had actually gotten to a point where I had shut off at least one day. So there was definitely one day where I no working. But what
Okay.
I find is that as we started to open up a little bit, now I was going to get to see family again. So if I start to incorporate trying to see family who I don't normally see anymore, it's just less and less. It's like, okay, so I spent my day, now I have to actually do some work. And so Saturday and Sunday, you see work creeping back in there because you don't want to get it done before much, it's just, so the pandemic
I
has.
honestly still feel like four more hours. I need about 4 more hours a day. Um, but I also, part of that end of the day ritual is having that conversation, like, be proud of what you accomplished. It's not everything. It's probably not even a fraction of what you wanted. But I'm trying to appreciate what I do get done, because it's not enough time.
An end of day ritual, that's another great point, Stacy, because trust me, I see the difference. Like in a day where I have morning and evening rituals, like I'm happy with them. Oh my gosh, I feel so good. I sleep good. I wake up good the next day. It's like, man, I maybe get one every so often where it's like,
I'm still not, I don't get it in something comes up like right when I'm like, it's time for my shutdown.
Yeah.
And it's like, money, right?
Something to interrupt the flow. But no, that's really great. I'm actually, I love those points, because then I can definitely see where, in the community, morning routines is one of the things that I talk about consistently. Like if you can get that down, then you can start to, start creeping in the evening things, afterwards. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So last question already. I ask this for all my guests to share one thing, whether it's a quote or a belief or a practice that you would recommend. It could be in one of the three focus areas, or it could just be general, that you feel has really been a game changer in your life. What's the one thing that you would want to leave with our listeners and viewers? That is that one thing that you're like, hands down, this is it for me.
I don't know if it's a quote, but it kind of goes with my this is be present. It's probably backwards, but I feel like I would not have started my business. I would have not gone through the tough times if I didn't listen and recognize the voices in my head as good ones and bad ones. And so I guess my recommendation is listen, or know and recognize those voices in your head. You're going to have the ones that are going to tell you you can't do it, you're not worthy, you should quit now. And then you hopefully will have the ones say you can accomplish everything. But you have to be careful what you listen to, because if you listen to too many of those negative thoughts, it'll take you under. It's not anything outside of yourself. It's just you. People want to blame it on business and pandemic, but it's just these voices that really controls our bliss, controls our business, all of that. So that's my recommendation.
No, that's so
Listen
good.
and recognize.
That's so good. And I actually like the way you say listen and know. So, you're gonna have the voices because they're there. It's just you have to recognize the ones that are for you versus the ones that are against the things that you deeply desire, against your ultimate intention. So that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for joining and dropping all these little pearls and gems that we are going to be able to recap after the show. I appreciate you, Stacy, and I wish you so much uber success. You're going to be one of those serial entrepreneurs. I see it. At least until you're ready to settle down and do other kinds of stuff and not work.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully I won't be so serial. Eventually I hope to come back on and just talk about bedroom.
Yeah.
Give me a few years.
For sure. Thank you so much, Stacy,
Thank
for joining
you.
me. And thank you, ladies, for watching and tuning in and listening to another episode of the Balanced Lady Boss Show. Take care and see you next time.